Wellness Show, and I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen. And today I'm excited to have an interview with Menno Pauls. He's the author of The Gathering of the Eagles. And if you've been looking for it in a bookstore, you wouldn't find it because it was produced as a PDF and it was circulated throughout the 80s, I think, and 90s up to current time by hand. So it got passed from person to person to person about the gathering of the eagles. So it's a rare opportunity to track him down and have this intrepid explorer talk about what that was all about. So Menno, this goes way back, and I think into the 70s is really when this all really was happening. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you want me to do a little encapsulate how?
Absolutely, yeah.
How they ended up as that, book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was from my side and Sharon's side. We worked together. Anyways, it was never in our mind that this thing should go that far. We sort of came in backwards. We're just trying to be normal, average human beings, and things got out of hand. So really, I mean, we're just living trying to live a normal life, and then things started to happen, which woke us up to a whole new reality. Is way beyond what we had expected, but it was like waking us up, like saying, hey, it's time to wake up as to what you're doing here, on the planet. So the first event happened. It's right at the beginning of in the Eagles book, first chapter, when I was having my normal. I used to eat hamburger and chips was my normal meal, and I was a self-employed window cleaner at the time, from 1968 on to 78. This is self-employed. Before that, I was working for a big company in Vancouver. But anyways, so I was usually went into this hamburger place. The building is still there on Fraser. Kingsway and Fraser Street.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
It's a used car. It's a used car lot right now. The building with the glass on it, it's still sitting there. So, anyways, I went early this morning. I usually go there at 12, but I went at 11. So there's nobody else. There was no other people there except as I went to the counter. I ordered up a hamburger and fries, and that type of burger place would make them fresh, right? While you're waiting. Not like, the McDonald's, whatever, came later. But anyways, while I'm waiting, this individual comes in from the left, from where my station wagon was parked, walked in, and to describe him, this is scruffy beard, looked like a little bit of a farmer type look about him. And anyways, he comes up, he goes behind me, comes up here on my right shoulder, and he starts talking about this place. He said, I have a place in the country, he said, and there's a loft over here, and there's these birds on the loft, and there's this bird up here, and the light comes through. This bird hits these birds. He said, I feed all of those birds, he says. And I thought he was just an old timer, talking away. He never ordered, he never bought anything. But anyways, my order came, and I said, here's my order, I guess I gotta go. And he says, I'll see you later. And he touched me on the right shoulder, and this electric shock goes through me. And I said, shit, what was that? And I went out to the car, over there, sat in the car, and I'm looking back at him. He made a circle and came out the same door he had entered, was the one close to my car. Goes in, he goes down the side of the building toward the back, halfway down, he's gone. And I said, geez, then logic. Oh, there's a men's and women's washroom down near the end there. Maybe he's going in the men's. And I'm thinking, I should go in there and check that, that's where he went to, right? I get a message inside immediately. It said, no, you don't want to do that. Because if you don't find him, you've got a problem. Now you can just carry that. He went in there to carry on your life, right? Don't, you'll save yourself a lot of grief. You don't go in there. Because now you really have a trouble. So anyways, that was 1971. 1973, I'm working away cleaning windows at Granville Street in Dunsmuir in Vancouver. And I'm on a stepladder about this high, doing this bank building, plate glass. The voice behind was, careful for the height. I turn around, and there's It looked like a skid row bum or a hobo down the bottom of the ladder. I'm only 5 feet. I come down the thing. I knew he wasn't talking about this. He says, careful for the height when I got reached the top. Then he says, me and my friend, and he goes, points, well, 30 feet down the sidewalk of Granville. He says, me and my friend, there's another guy looked just like him who's there. He says, we've been here a long time. He says, we've seen people born, live, and die. Born, live, and die, like generations of life. He's saying. He says, we're close by at all times. Careful for the height. He touched me on the shoulder. An electric feeling, but not as powerful as the first one. A smooth one went through. He leaves, goes to the other guy. Poof, both of them are gone. I said, wow, that's the second time, I got this. That's 73. 74 was one that was, in hindsight, the one was that was going to prepare me to be the messenger, messenger. I must just stop and say that I went up to that point of up to 74. I had a speech impediment. I used to stutter and stammer ever since I was a small kid. Well, 74, the universe said, okay, it's time we start preparing you to be the communicator. So I was in New Westminster waiting for my car. I was walking up a sidewalk, and this guy comes up to me like a street person, but mentally handicapped, maybe, mentally challenged. He comes up to me real close here on the right. Funny, every contact with there be on the right on the right side. He says to me, and he's holding gum wrappers, juicy fruit and spearmint on his left hand. He says, I collect these, you should know. And he goes pointing right in my face. I'm right there. And he said, these are the Catholics and these are the Protestants. They can't be torn or dirty, he says. They got to be just perfect. And he had them into 2 piles. His hand. He said, you should know about that. He's pointing right at me. And I thought the guy was nuts. And then he did something which got my attention like that. He said, remember when you were a little boy and you're on the wagon full of wheat down in the prairies? I was born on the prairies, just a little north of Saskatoon. Anyway, my dad had a team of horses and we had a wagon full of wheat. I was with him sitting on the thing. We went to a small town, had grain elevators. This guy is now saying, remember how the horses were skittish, pulling the wagon about the word wooden ram going up, beside the elevator. I said, remember that? He's taking me right back. He took me right back to that moment. He said, remember what happened inside the grain elevator? The foreman of the elevator that kind of frightened you. He was telling you about the danger because there's this machinery, that took the wheat way up high inside the elevator, and it's all moving without no safety guards. The guy is telling me, and this guy's now reminding me, remember how he scared you, but if you got too close to, you get caught up and you're gone. It was instant death if you got close to that belt.
Yeah.
So I knew right away, as he's doing that, I'm understanding what he's doing, and now I'm amazed at what he's doing. He's taken me back to that moment in time, 4 years old, when I, had something happen into my memory bank, which had caused the speech impediment, like stuttering, stammering. That, left a little whatever, in there, and it locks in. And he is now, and I'm understanding what he's doing. He says, now he's sort of saying, you don't have to do anymore. Go back in there. Remember the thing? I'm taking you right back. It was like a psychoanalyst. He said, well, you can go right back to you and take that little piece out and won't bother you anymore. So that happened. And I was saying, wow, now he's got my attention. And there's a telephone booth about 6 feet away. And I wanted to phone my wife, Sharon, to say, hey, Sharon, do you see what's happening? And when I looked at the phone booth, I could see that somebody had ripped the cord, like the receiver, off. So it wasn't going to work anyways. Now, turned back and the guy's gone. Totally disappeared like that. And I went home and I told Sharon what happened. And so that happened. And I went to see my dad one time, and he confirmed what happened back then. So that's 74. 75. 1975. One night, we lived in New Westminster. One night, the first guy that came into the hamburger place, he was right there. His face is right there. He's got me by the shoulders like this. He said, "Who are you?" And I said, Menno Pauls. He said, "No, that's not exactly it." Then he says, "What are you doing?" And I says, "Cleaning windows." and again, his look was saying, "No, that's not the right answer." Then he shook me and said, "Where are you going?" And immediately he answered the question. Immediately, him and I are taken to a valley. We're standing face to face, waist high in some green crop. I don't know what it is, alfalfa or something. It was green. We're about this high in it. He's right there. I could see 360 degrees. I could see behind me in that state that we were in. We were in a valley with mountains on that side, mountains all around. And we were there just for seconds. And then, poof, he's gone. I'm gone. We're gone out of there. I'm back in bed. And I'm saying, "Holy, what was that?" I says, "Question 1, I failed. Question 2, I didn't answer right. Question 3, he told me to do the thing." So anyway, what happened was, so I had this mystery. What was he trying to get from number 1 and number 2? And so, it was a mystery. I didn't know what to make of it. One day I'm driving. We lived in New Westminster, and I'm just going to take this off for a second. And I was driving to work from New Westminster into Vancouver. All my work was in downtown Vancouver. I'm going down First Avenue, which you're in Vancouver by now. I'm heading west, driving my station wagon, and I lose consciousness. And then when I came to, I'm not on First Avenue. I am now on the street heading south. It was on Rupert Street, just a little ways off of where I was. And then I'm saying, and then I try to turn around and go back to First Avenue, heading west. And then I lose consciousness, and now I'm driving south. And on the third time, I did it 3 times, tried to correct. On the third time, I just said, "Where are we going?" I look up and say, "Where are we going?" And answer, "You're going to Collingwood Library branch," which happened to be south on that street, Rupert and Kingsway, Collingwood Library branch. I had the contract for all the library branches in Vancouver. So I drove to Collingwood Library branch and got my gear out. I went inside and tried to do like normal cleaning the windows inside. This 20-year-old librarian clerk came up to me and said, she says, "This is for you." She gives me about a piece of paper about this size. It was a poem. She said, "Yeah, I was inspired to write this. This is for you. I don't know what it means." It's here. Gives it to me. It's got 3 verses. It's structured out, and it's just in the last one. The last verse says, "You so high in flight, touch the naked pigeons with your warm, foreseeing light." And this, in a sense, as soon as I knew what that meant. It was taking me back to the hamburger place when the guy said the birds on the loft, they were like pigeons, but no, well, they weren't pigeons, they were eagles, but they were acting like pigeons. They're trying to, with their wings, tucked in. They weren't going like this.
Right.
And the one up here is this bird here. There's a light coming through, and he touches these things. That was in the 3rd verse. That lady that gave the poem, she didn't know anything about that episode, 1971 and thing. And she's writing, this thing, when I read it, it says, number 1 is supposed to be, "You are the messenger, that bird there doing the light. You are that." That's what the poem said. Then it said, "You touched the naked pigeon with your warm foreseeing light." And then, that was I was supposed to be, number 1, answer to number 1 was, "You are a messenger." What's number 2? "What are you doing?" And it just came to me. I understood. You're supposed to tell them, "One day you will wake up in a green valley." It all came together just right there. And it's just that person that showed up in the restaurant, hamburger place, And I was guided to a place in the Urantia book, which I was guided to too, the Urantia book. It took many, many years to find, and I used it in addition right here, by the way.
Yeah.
That I was given along the way. And what I would do is I never read it from front to back. It's really deep, but what I would do is hold it like this and meditate and just open it up like that, just like that, and read right there. Then I'd fall asleep, and that would, the download, and then be in there, and then it would come out. In here, I was told the guy that ended up in the restaurant, the guy that was going this, he's a heavy-duty spirit guide, which is barely mentioned in the Bible, but they really mention it in the Urantia book. Melchizedek. Melchizedek in the Old Testament is virtually nothing, but yet in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 7, there they talk about Melchizedek and that he had an interaction with Abraham.
Right.
Abraham, back in those days. But the Old Testament doesn't hardly mention that at all, but it is mentioned in Hebrews chapter 7, and that's located in the New Testament. There it says, and the Urantia book explains all about that Melchizedek, that being, all about him. He was here 4,000 years ago on the planet. He had a school, spiritual school, at a place called Salem. Salem was a tent school. Today, that place is called Jerusalem. Today, that morphed into it.
And where's that located?
It's in Israel, right now in Palestine.
Yeah. It's interesting because in the book of Enoch, they talk about Melchizedek, and in the book of Enoch, it talks about Melchizedek being part of I'm going to say entourage, that may be the wrong term, but part of a group of beings that comes to every planet as it prepares for ascension. And that's the job of that group of angelic beings. So do you think that those contacts that, they look like hobos, or they look like, people off the street or street people, do you think they were angelic beings, or were they, what sort of beings do you think they were?
I'll explain that right now.
Yeah.
The Urantia book again helps to describe who they were. The two that were on the sidewalk, in Vancouver, that showed up, they've been with me. I'm very conscious of them. They're right here over on my right side. I don't see them, but we're in contact. We've evolved into a place we can communicate by thought. They can show up in dreams, but in the daytime we can communicate. We can talk to each other. Thought is universal.
Yeah.
The language of thought. Thought covers all languages. I'll just quickly say thought languages, like different languages on a planet, like all the different languages, they are in essence envelopes. The language is the envelope. Inside the envelope is the thought. The thought's inside. That thought is universal. 8 billion people on the planet, we're all transmitting, we're all receiving, but hardly any of them are conscious of that.
So do you think that so those guys are your spirit guides then, or your guardians?
Well, I'll try to explain these two. There's two right here. Well, you mentioned about as a type. There's actually 3 of them here, but these two right here are the same type. But they've been here 35,000 years on the planet. These two, they're not off planet beings. They came into being here on this planet. These two here. There's a third one on the far side. These guys are in an energy range between angelic type beings and human. These two right here. The Urantia book calls them secondary midwares. These two right here. The other one's a primary midware. Has been here 500,000 years. Wow. The third guy. He's in an energy range one wave over from where these two guys are. These guys are closer to the human. It's easy for them to shift into human range. A little bit more difficult for the other one because it's a further shifting.
So it's sort of like a step down, and you're the transformer, or the one that talks on this plane to other humans, right?
I'm their human.
Interface. Ambassador.
What we're going to call it. I'm the human end of it, of their. But these two are helping. They assist in my work with Melchizedek.
Right.
Melchizedek is my superior. Now he's off planet. He comes from the center of this universe.
Right.
Explains it really good in the center of this universe. There is they have what the schools, colleges, spiritual colleges, which compose universities. See the word university with the head with the center of the universe. Well, the Melchizedeks are the teachers. They are the professors there for the whole universe, for all spiritual life in a universe. This universe contains presently right now 3,600,000 inhabited planets. They're in different systems, scattered throughout the universe. This is one of many universes, millions of universes out there. But anyways, these two were assigned to me. I asked them once, how long have you been with me? These two, the first two. They said, since you were inside your mother's womb, when you incarnated here on the planet in 1941, he said, we were there. We were assigned to your work. They're not assigned to me all through my existence in yours. They're assigned to what I am doing with you.
What you're here to do, right?
They're assigned to help me carry out the Eagles project.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're assigned to do, because that's really interesting. So here you are, you're on a mission, and you got these beings, Melchizedek beings, that are your principal guides, that are helping you by teaching you that synchronicity and guidance is what you are to listen to, no matter what else is happening in your life, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what about the gathering of the Eagles? How did that come about? Where you were? Yeah.
So let me just zoom from there, because I'm doing the highlights.
Yeah.
And the big one was, Mel. I'm on a first name basis with Melchizedek. I call him Mel for short, but Melchizedek. Anyways, what he was doing, I says, time to wake up. And here's your thing. And then after that happened, these two, they showed me a lot of future scenes. These guys, they showed me what's ahead. These two here, they would, and I'll explain one of those here, but I'm just zoom up to. We can go back to here if we got time. But anyways, okay. So today they introduced themselves. These two, the one that but my speech is happened to be one of these two that came out, because the other guy on the third, I only became aware of him in 1980. 1980, I didn't know about him until 1980. Although people that are psychic, whenever I showed up, they said, you got three guides. They could see them. Psychic people. You got three helpers on the right. Anyways, so these two guys who were showing me in dreams and visions and direct about what was ahead for the world.
Yeah.
Showed me a lot of stuff. But anyways, what's going on? Anyways, so I was being prepared to travel and meet people, and they took me. Okay, so starting in 1976, January 1976 was the first people I had to meet. Go to. I was directed to and say this message. My message was, one day you will wake up and you'll be in a valley. It was a green valley, and there'll be people all around you. You and your family will be there, and there'll be other people all around. Like, it could be hundreds and up to maybe a couple of thousand. They're around, all around, and they're confused, like what's happening? How did we get here?
Yeah. And
you, when I was talking to, you will help to calm them down. You will help to explain what is happening, and everything's fine. And there's help all around. You don't have to worry about it. You will be there, and these people, all the people around you at that time, you will have met them. You will have linked up with them in your lifetime here on Earth. You will have linked up, made contact, sometimes a little longer contact, sometimes briefly, a stewardess on an airline, a waitress in a thing, etc. You will, and sometimes, you'll have a longer relationship with them, but sometimes you could just have a one-time shot, and that will be lodged in there. And when they wake up, they will look around and they'll home in. You will be a homing. You'll be a homing, like as if you're a homing signal. They'll home in on you. You will help to calm them down. And I told them there'll be help all around you. You won't be able to see it, but there's help all around you and everything's fine. That was my message. It was very, very simple. That's all I had to do. I didn't tell them to change their lifestyle or, get with it or whatever. It was that message. So, and then I was, I did that in the local area of Vancouver for a while. And then they took me on training trips, learning how to be in the moment and get directions moment by moment. I'll give you an example. The first training trip happened. One day I'm having my breakfast at this one restaurant in Vancouver, which I would stop at 8 o'clock. I started work about 5, and I stopped for breakfast around 8:30. And I was eating my breakfast. I'm reading the morning paper, and I don't normally read the horoscope, but that day I looked at the horoscope, looked at my thing on a Libra, and I looked and said, it said there, travel plans are known by those in high places. It's time you should know. And I said, what was that? Anyways. And then I got a message that said, go to the airport, fly to Saskatoon. Just get on a plane and fly to Saskatoon now. And I phoned up Sharon. I said, Sharon, I'm getting a message. I'm supposed to fly to Saskatoon now. And she said, yes, I agree. And I think you're supposed to go to Regina too. And, okay, I go to the airport. I park the car. I get a flight. Morning, there was a flight, direct flight to Saskatoon. I'm getting off the plane, walking to the terminal, and I'm thinking about renting a Chevy Monte Carlo. I was thinking, these guys beam in, ask for an Olds Cutlass, they said. I asked for an Olds Cutlass. I find there's one reserved for me in Saskatoon. Okay, I take it. And then they remind me, oh, by the way, the people, this car doesn't belong to Saskatoon, it belongs to Regina. So if you're traveling around, you can drop it off in Regina. It tells me, okay, I'm going to Regina. So I'm sitting in the car meditating when I get in, and I say, okay, why have I got this car? And poof, message. Two hitchhikers outside of town, right out of the Saskatoon when you're leaving town, with pack sacks, pick them up. I shrugged that off and said, oh, and okay, why am I here? Two guys with, go again, two guys with pack sacks, they're right outside town, pick them up. So I drive over there heading for Regina, and there's two guys with pack sacks, one here and one in the back. And it's a 3-hour drive to Regina. And we talked about everything under the universe, but I never made a contact. It was just like I was supposed to drive them from there to there. I take them to Regina. Highway 1 goes right through Regina. They got out, they said they're heading east. I'm sitting in the car, meditating and saying, okay, what now? Messy. Finish. Go to the airport, drop off the car, fly home. Okay, I did it. And now I'm on the plane taking off from Regina. And I'm saying, okay, what was that all about? What we just did? Answer. This is the training trip. So you can start to get used to, you'll get a message, like number 1 of the message, carry it out without knowing how it's going to turn out. How long you're going to be away? What all you're doing? You get, number 1, you do this. We'll tell you number 2 as we go along. And we'll tell you number 3 and all that. So I had a couple of those, I had about 3 of those training trips where all I had to do was learn to get it as and when, like when I needed it, all the way down. And there'd be hotel rooms waiting for me. Cars would be reserved, everything. And sometimes I wasn't even delivering. I was in the training ones, I wasn't delivering my message. I was just learning how to follow the guidance.
Okay, so you weren't telling your message at this point. Time. Wow.
No, we're at that point. I was doing some messages in Vancouver, but the training trips were not to deliver a message. Yeah. They were training me to go, follow direction, follow guidance. Yeah. So from then on, there was a lot of people. I was 1976. I did the message about 1 per week. Then that start. Then it went 1 per day. Then it went 10 per day. At the height was 10 contacts a day, out of the blue. 10 per day. And it got so bad going down into 1977. I couldn't even do my window cleaning work. And then these guys showed up one day. And I said, geez, I can't, I'm so busy. I can't do the guidance. They said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of the windows. These two guys. We'll take care of the windows. The check will be going to you for this. Don't worry about it. You know, that's what happened. Then at the end of 77, he said, sell your business. It's sold in an hour. Okay. And just prepare for what's ahead. The last day of 77, we signed the papers, but I sold my business. And January, the first week of January, I was just kind of preparing to travel. I didn't know where it's going to go, but I had dreams coming every night, showing me faces of people, all different kinds of people. I saw their faces. And then on the last day, I was told, okay, you'll be going to Chicago. Your first stop will be Chicago, and then we'll tell you where to after. January 9th, I woke up early in the morning and I was told what flight to take, exactly what flight. Early one morning from Vancouver to Calgary. And it was actually going, after Calgary, went to Chicago. I was told to get on that flight, certain flight. I go there to the airport, no reservation. I say to the people, I want to get on that flight. They said, it's full. I said, put me on standby. They said, standby is even, you know, but it's full on standby. I said, put me on standby anyways. So I'm there, I have to make a decision because back in 77, there was no fear of terrorists with bombs, right? You know, so to speak of. So I had my suitcase sitting on the, you know, that way thing. And if you go on, and those days when you went on standby, the suitcase went. You know, whether or not you're on the plane, the suitcase would go too. So anyways, I said, so I asked them, you know, what happens if I don't get on that flight? They said, well, your suitcase will be in Chicago tonight. But I knew it didn't bother me because I knew if I couldn't get on a flight, well, Vancouver to Seattle, there's a million flights. Over to Seattle, I could always go via Seattle and into Chicago, you know. But no, I got on that plane. Last guy on the plane, sitting between on a 727, got 3 seats. I'm in the middle. There's a guy right here and a guy right here. The first leg is to Calgary. This was my contact right here. I had to tell him the message. The guy was by the window seat. We land, half the plane emptied out, some work going on. And then I had the whole thing empty, so I slept. You know, flip up things. I was sleeping on the way to Chicago. We get off at Chicago, and it was holy. If I minus 40, do you know what minus 40? That Fahrenheit and Celsius meet at minus 40. It was minus 40 that day, January 9th. Cold, so cold. I go to the airport. I look at the hotel board. Where do I stay? A guy in a suit comes up to me and says, he didn't have the reservation either. He said, hey, do you want to go in a cab with me? He says, sure, and we'll find a hotel. Says, okay. Him and I go outside and one of these checker cabs they have in the States. Well, we get in the back seat and it was so cold, the locks, the latches were frozen, so they wouldn't latch. So I was holding that door. He's holding his while we're in the cab, holding the door. It was really cold. Anyways, we're driving around. I said to the cab, oh, there was a Sheraton O'Hare over there. Let's go there. Went over there. Me and this guy got the last 2 rooms of that night. And there was another guy was just ahead of us, a shorter guy with a mustache and a 3-piece suit. He got the 3rd last room. We all got ready to check at the same time. We're in the same elevator. We're going up. Me and this guy in the cab, we went to this one floor, go down, and I went to the room and I saw which room you went in. And then when I got in my room, I was told, go talk to that guy he rode in the cab. I go there, I knock on his door. I said, excuse me, but I got something to tell you. He says, come on in. And I tell him my message. And he said, you know, it's strange why I'm in Chicago right now. I didn't have a reservation. He said, last minute. He says, I'm in the oil industry. I have a company in Houston, Texas. I was in Edmonton. I'm coming back, and then I got diverted to Chicago.